skin lightening industry is valued at $8.8 billion.
Skin will get thin, you can get burns, the pigmentation can become permanent. So instead of lightening, you're actually damaging your skin again and again.
You have this headline that says death penalty for an Indian man who burnt wife over skin color. And no, that is not clickbait.
Goes to show that, yeah, I know that I already have a bias and I want light skin, but I also have shame about wanting to change myself about it.
But not your own skin color. How can you change that?
I mean, you're right. I wish we understood that. Welcome to Dirty Brown. I'm your host, Kriti J, and this is the podcast where we bring out the jhadu and stir things up. Colorism is something that I grew up with, and today I am sitting with one of my friends and a clinical expert, Dr. Priyanka Mall, to get into the trifecta of how colonial history, capitalism, and media has shaped our obsession with fairness. I am excited to bring you this episode today. Let's get into it. We are back. It's been so long since you and I have done a recording together. I am excited to jump into this today.
Me too. Can't wait.
How did colorism show up for you when you were growing up?
I've tried to think about this a lot. Like, no one explicitly told me that I'm dark, but I was told to not go out in the sun because I'm gonna get tan. And the stupid thing about don't drink chai because it's gonna make your skin dark. I even grew up like watching my grandma. She would always use this white talcum powder as part of her beautification routine. And even going to the stores to buy makeup, like you didn't have an option to go shade match yourself and things like that. That's fairly recent. I just remember my mom would go, they would have two shades option, and she would just pick the lighter one. And that thing would make her look so ridiculously like white. And she's a pretty good looking woman too, right? But there's just so much pressure to be like lighter shade is my personal shade. And never mind how I look ghostly or I even look like almost gray in my photos, but you know that was what was considered standard of beauty and you felt good about yourself.
We didn't have shade matching, and you're right about that. Like if we think about the cosmetic industry here in like the US and Canada, the shade matching thing is a recent thing.
Yeah.
And you know, the things that you said about like not going out in the sun or not drinking tea because it will affect your skin color, that resonates with me as well. I think the distinct moment where I sort of became aware of the color of my skin was a comment from like family members where like I'm one of the darkest people in my family. And so, you know, it was always a thing of just like, oh, you know, she's smart, she's intelligent, but iska rang thoda daba hua hai, like as in like, you know, her skin color is really dull. So, you know, as we talk about colorism, the thing that comes to mind is honestly those ridiculous Fair and Lovely ads from when we were young. Do you remember those?
Yep, the 8 faces of women who goes from like dark to light.
Yes.
And it's just like so ridiculous.
So why don't we look at these ads? We have this one where she wants to become a cricket commentator, but her mom, instead of like encouraging her, hands her a Fair and Lovely. Oh my God, these were terrible ads. Okay, this one is about the father telling her to get married and whatnot, and he's not listening to his daughter because she's not fair. And as soon as she's fair, you know, parents are just like, yes, my daughter is saying the right thing. She should focus on her career. When it comes to colorism, capitalism is not sexist. And this is where a different company in India capitalized on this market by making a fairness cream for the male market called Fair and Handsome. So this is what we grew up with.
Unbelievable.
When it comes to fairness, it is not just restricted to our ridiculous Fair and Lovely ads, but we also see this in matrimonial sites. And growing up, I remember there was a lot of like call out for fair bride or fair groom wanted. And so I kind of wanted to look at the ads again. And so here we have the Tribune from January 11th right in front of us. And so let's see how this has changed. So if I just do a quick search of the word fair. For the first one, QM for very beautiful, slim, fair woman. Then we have suitable medico match for fair, beautiful woman, Brahmin girl, you know, caste is obviously a thing. We have a suitable medical match for fair, fair, beautiful woman again. And then if we were to just go to what the brides wanted section looks like, things unfortunately aren't that different. You still have men here advertising themselves as fair and handsome, a suitable match for a fair and handsome, again, fair, fair, fair. And it goes on and on.
It's like the top five attribute. Like I'm slim, good looking, fair, or fair, good looking, handsome. Like there's not too many ways to describe that. Like that's precisely how they feel like they are. But also I wonder if it's like a subtle way to signal that we're because my boy's so fair, I'm only looking for fair brides. If you're dark, don't even bother.
I was hoping to see less of that, but that hasn't changed in matrimony ads. And, it's not surprising because we're kind of surrounded by it. Take Bollywood as an example. We have a bunch of fair people in mainstream media.
There is a certain lack of darker skinned individuals that are in Bollywood mainstream cinema. Yes, there are people and new actors coming in, especially on online viewing, but you can still see it predominantly like in South Indian movies. The actors, they can be dark skinned. And they're still very popular, but the main lead that they have for female, they're still very light skinned.
Even if we look at some movies like the movie Bala, there is a side character, Latika, who's this dark skinned lawyer, and she's facing her fair share of prejudice because of colorism. And instead of casting a darker actress or giving somebody else a chance who is dark, we essentially have somebody who's actually quite fair skinned and she's wearing brown face in the movie.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. And also, like, interesting thought that I had the other day is we have come a long way from, basically having no representation of darker skin in Indian cinema to now have these mainstream leads who are darker skin from like Deepika Padukone, Kokna Sen, Sayani Gupta, and even male actors, right? Like Vijay Sethupathi, Nawazuddin Siddiqui. But I do think that at least when you look at them on camera, it feels like either with makeup or lighting, they're almost trying to hide that fact, right?
The current state of our society continues to be reflected in recent news articles too. Like we have this one from Jabalpur where this couple was trolled online because the groom is very dark compared to the bride. And, he's being trolled for his skin color, and the bride is being called a gold digger because why else would she marry this
Oh
person?
my gosh.
And
I
then,
saw that news. Yeah.
and then when you look at some of the recommended articles that are linked to this, it's even more horrifying because you have this headline that says death penalty for an Indian man who burnt wife over skin color. And no, that is not clickbait. So this shit is happening. And these articles are just from like a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think about that all the time, especially in the context of what does the fabric of our society look like today? Are we still stuck?
Yeah. When I think about how did we even get here, I know we're sort of in like this colonial hangover. I was doing some research on this and like I do want to be careful here, but you know, a lot of times colorism is also attributed to the caste system. And so when we look at the history for a second, like this is like a bit of a history lesson. Caste systems came about around 4,000 years ago. And the system did was basically said that there are these four types of castes or varnas that actually means color. But these were just symbolic colors to sort of denote these four castes. It had nothing to do with the skin color. You had castes like the Brahmins who did the more spiritual, religious temple stuff. So they were working indoors. And then you had this other caste like the Shudras that were doing more of the labor work. And so they were spending a lot of time outdoors. And this is, by the way, me just after being 3 days on the sea and notice the change in the skin color in just 3 days. So anyway, while this caste system existed 4,000 years ago, dark skin was still considered beautiful. We worship gods like Krishna, that literally means dark. We had poems from that time that are, attributing beauty to having dark skin. So it wasn't a problem until later on, as India went through its medieval times, the Mughal times, and it saw a bunch of rulers, one after the other, being light skinned. And slowly there was this transition of light skin being associated with power and privilege. And then came the British, who saw this and they basically totally properly fucked us up by by essentially racializing and institutionalizing colorism. One of the Britishers, he even used pseudoscience to prove that light skin is better than dark skin. During the British rule, we had segregation, we had these signs like Indians and dogs not allowed, and all of this together really messed with our psyche. So once British left after ruling us for 200 years, we were basically left traumatized. So that is one aspect of why we are in this state today, but it didn't just stop there. When we kind of look at what else happened, the media industry and capitalism continued to exploit this. The skin lightening industry is valued at $8.8 billion, and India accounts for 11% of that. That is almost $1 billion. Companies like Unilever, Procter and Gamble, L'Oreal have just flooded the market with all these skin lightening solutions. And here we are in this post-colonial era. We haven't recovered from the trauma, and now we are being fed the ads and these skin lightening solutions. And then on the other hand, you have the rise of media industry in India, who have still, we're all still in this issue together. We haven't healed, and Bollywood starts to show all these beautiful light-skinned people in the mainstream media. And that reinforces this narrative again and again. So essentially, we have the trifecta of colonialism, capitalism, and media. And we go from, depicting Krishna as this dark deity to a few shades lighter in this light blue color.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. There was no room but to feel like the lighter you are, the more chances of success you have, better marriages, as we can see from all the ads. And on top of that, media is constantly telling us that you need to be lighter. So yeah, to your point, of course this trifecta is going to work. Of course it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
We actually have an expert who is going to join us to talk about how this shows up in the salons.
Yeah, I really want to know if those glutathione like supplements, do they really work? Is that a real thing even?
Well, let's find out. Today I'm joined by Dr. Priyanka Mall, who is a cosmetologist, and she's been doing this for over a decade now. And I wanted her to come on the episode today to talk to help us understand how colorism not just shows up in the society, but also in the clinics and the treatments in the salons. And she's actually also my aunt. Welcome, Masi.
Thank you.
How common is it for requests for like whitening solutions?
It is one of the most requested thing in my clinic, but they request for brightening or maybe remove the tan. Basically the desire is the same. They want lightening, but they don't say it. They have changed the terminology. They come to the clinic and they are like, I go to the parties, I meet people, and I really look dull in front of them, and I don't look up to the mark where I go, and I don't feel confident about it, and basically justify themselves.
Has anybody ever directly asked, like, I want to become lighter?
Usually what I've seen, men do that a lot. If they want it, so yeah.
Actually, that was my next question. Like, among the people who ask for these type of services, like, is it predominantly women or men, or is it like a mix of both?
It's predominant in women. Like, women ask it a lot, but they change their phrase. Like, they ask it indirectly. Like, I'm tanned, I'm super tanned, and I'm not feeling confident, I'm going to parties. But men are very direct in that, if they want it.
And like, if you were to just guess, like, percentage of men versus women, like, what would that be?
Maybe 70% women and 30% of men.
Okay. And has this always been the case, like people requesting for these whitening services, or has it changed over the years?
It has always been there. It's just a norm in the society. They believe that skin tone is related to being beautiful. If you have a fair skin, no matter if you have acne or something, but you're beautiful.
How early do you see these anxieties show up in terms of like the age group of the patients that are asking for it?
Mostly teenagers.
Wow, teenagers.
Yeah, teenagers, but many children as well. And in children, they are not very conscious about themselves. It's someone pointing it out for them. And that someone is usually a family member.
That's sad, actually. Since they're kids, society is telling them that something is not okay and they need to change something about themselves. So, when parents are bringing these children in the clinic, I'm curious, like, how does that go? Like, what does that interaction look like? And
it's always like a concern. Like, my kid is super tanned right now because they play a lot in the sun, or they're not feeling confident enough just because they're the group in the like their friends
circle,
group circle is like everyone is very good looking as they connect it to fairness. So that's the thing, yeah.
Is it legal for kids that young to go through treatments like this?
It shouldn't be. There's no law about it. But yes, there is a particular age, like of course the doctor knows that where you are supposed to start. For example, not for the fairness, but for the laser hair reduction, ideally a kid should be like 18 years of age to start with. Before that, there are a lot of hormonal changes and everything. So similarly, in these procedures, you shouldn't be like using it before that.
What are kids like? Are kids also saying something in this situation? Like, what do you notice about their body language? How are they showing up in the clinic during all of this?
So they're very quiet. I feel that they're a bit confused. They're not very okay. It's like maybe my mother is considering this and she's concerned about me, so she's right. So it's like that.
I didn't realize the issue is so bad that even kids are being pressured into fairness services. So have you ever said no to anyone when they asked for the service?
Absolutely. Unless and until there's a medical condition or there's like serious need of certain procedure, I usually don't do it.
What are your thoughts on the very popular lotion that we even grew up with, which is Fair and Lovely, and also the rebranding to Glow and Lovely?
So basically, they've changed the name, but the idea remains the same. It has some bleaching ingredients and all. They might have increased it. Like you're getting my point. They might have reformulated or just use a different ingredient of the same pattern, but it's the same.
What are the disadvantages of using a cream like Fair and Lovely or Glow and Lovely?
This is still like, I would say, like on a safer side than rest of the creams like Skin Light and Betnovet, and these are really abused. It has to be used to us on the like very like in a conjugative manner, targeted area nahi. It's like you have to use it for a very limited amount of time, or else your skin will get thin, you can get burns, and the pigmentation can become permanent. So instead of lightening, you are actually damaging your skin again and again.
Is that damage repairable?
It's 50-50. It depends on how long these creams have been used or any like other treatments have been done. But generally, it's like 50% it can be recovered, or else it takes months to years to repair, like to come back to your original self, or else it's permanent.
That's scary. Do you think consumers are knowledgeable about this?
Now, like even on my page, I make my followers aware of it, and there's a limit of using these creams, and you shouldn't be actually using these creams.
So, we're talking a lot about treatments for skin lightening and creams for skin lightening, but can skin tone actually be changed?
Not at all, it cannot be. Of course, how can you do it? Your genes are your genes. It's genetically, you're blessed with this. I think like it's always like if you have acne marks, if you have even acne scars, uneven skin tone, tanning, pigmentation, everything can change, but not your own skin color. How can you change that?
Right. You're right. I wish we understood that. Do you think these treatments that exist, they exist primarily because we live in a colorist society and you potentially won't see these treatments in other countries?
Most of these treatments wouldn't even exist if this type of culture was not there. So some of the treatments, like some cosmetic peels, they were supposed to be used for uneven skin tone and like I told about acne and everything. But certain peels are used for like fairness purpose because they are so harsh that it just peels off your whole like first skin layer, and it keeps on peeling for 12 days. It's so intense, but unfortunately it's not permanent, and you have to keep on using a mild peel on day-to-day basis to maintain the effect. Of course, like how can you like maintain it like that? Yeah. Apart from that, there are some injections like IV injections which are used for brightening purpose nowadays.
What is the IV injection?
The main thing what people know is IV glutathione.
Okay.
Now it's an antioxidant. It's for liver detox. Okay. So it was primarily used by the doctors for the patient who have liver issues and all.
Yeah.
And one of the side effects actually is skin lightening. And it's not in all the patients. It's not permanent. The moment you stop it, you'll revert back. Now you tell me, how long can you take the intravenous injections for being light or whatever you want to?
Wasn't this the treatment that was also part of the premise of Made in Heaven?
ये पिंक लाइट कलर है और स्किन को और डार्क करता है.
So there were like the facials which were supposed to lighten her,
yeah,
and the intravenous drips.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on that episode, by the way?
It's really sad. It was really sad. But yeah, I can relate to it because I see that all the time. I felt really bad that you're actually making a woman hate herself for her skin color.
It's truly, really sad. This is how it continues to show up even today. What do you think is the cosmetologist's responsibility in a society like ours?
It's actually a lot, like being in this industry, in skincare industry, that we have to be updated with all the services, and unfortunately a lot of services are dependent on this fairness marketing gimmick. So we decide that we reinforce insecurity or just stop it. And of course it's an individual's choice if they want to get it done or not, but it's our responsibility to educate anyone who is coming to us. You cannot change the skin color, so that has to come from a doctor. I don't own a clinic where I'm working currently, but maybe if I would have owned a clinic, it was my place, I would have not even offered these services.
I wish everybody was as ethical as you are, and maybe then we could have put a stop to this much sooner. What advice would you give somebody who's listening to this and going through their own set of challenges around their own skin color, and maybe even thinking about some brightening or fairness solutions?
Look, healthy and a good skin has nothing to do with fair skin. Please don't try to change your skin color or anything. It's what you are, it's who you are. You cannot erase your identity. Like, you cannot change your complexion. You cannot get lighter, 4 shades lighter. It's your genes, you cannot change it. So one should actually focus more on skin health. First of all, like using good products on your skin. With that, I mean good ingredients, not mehenga products. Secondly, a sunscreen is a must. Just follow a simple routine. Moisturize your skin. It's for good your skin's health.
And nutrition is also important.
Of course, eating healthy is 80% of what you do. So exercise, eat healthy. It just gives you a glow from within. Your skin automatically clears itself. But if you expect to get lighter than your complexion and you want to be in the skin color of your friend or your niece, maybe, it's your identity. Don't try to be someone else. The society will keep on manipulating you. They have their own standards, but you should have your own standards. Please don't change that.
That's powerful. I think, there's definitely a lot of unlearning that needs to happen too, because if, let's say, since you were a child, if your family and society is pointing to your skin color and telling you that something is wrong with you and something needs to be changed, imagine the conditioning that has happened.
A lot of patients also, if I counsel them for this, they tell me that you can't understand because I'm fair. Right. I'm fair. So they tell me that, Doc, you can't understand these things because you're not in my shoes. So I tell them, like, you look so beautiful, you have a good skin. So just be confident in your skin. That's what I say. But unfortunately, again, they tell me, like, you can't understand what am I going through.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is a systemic thing too, right? There is bias against people who are of darker skin in our society. Like, Fair and Lovely, the ad that they had for the longest time was that this woman was really dark and she wasn't successful professionally.
With jobs and everything.
And as soon as she becomes 7 shades lighter, her life just like completely turns around and she's like a power career woman. She has
as kid also, I had one question from those people. How is applying Fair and Lovely on the face changing the color of the whole body? I was really surprised at that time. Why is her complexion changed all over the body?
But they're applying it all over the body. That's how they're going to sell you more, right? Okay. You got to buy more, so you can apply it on your whole body. This has left me feeling a little heavy that, this is the state of how much like the pressure to be fair shows up in just taking care of your skin, and it's just sad. But thank you so much for joining for this discussion. I really do hope that things change for the better.
Yeah, hopefully, if the interview we've done, maybe one or a couple of them may understand what we are trying to tell them. If they understand that, maybe someone's mother gets enlightened or someone.
Yeah, maybe someone's family member is not going to pressure their daughter or son to get their skin lighter. Well, with that, thank you so much, Masi, for joining on this episode.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, wow, what did you think of that interview?
Incredible. I learned so much, and and it's so crazy to think that, like, women, not only do they want lighter skin who are going to people like your aunt, but they're more indirect about it. Just also goes to show that, yeah, I know that I already have a bias and I want light skin, but I also have shame about wanting that, wanting to change myself about it. So that's like added level of pressure and stress. And I think it's just so interesting to hear that. This is not like 4,000 years old story that we're talking about. Like the British left, right? Like the capitalism, fair and lovely, it's still a very thriving market. But at the same time, I do think there's a lot more awareness. You and I are not the only ones talking about this. There's tons of great content where people are sharing and educating people about their personal experiences, sharing stories about how they're breaking those barriers, saying no to products. There's also a lot of activism around colorism, right? Like, remember the other day we saw this like dark is beautiful campaign? I think it was about
Yes.
almost more than 10 years ago, launched by Kavita Emanuel. She had a big force behind it. And as even as late as 2019, I think, India's Got Color. Remember that? That,
Yeah,
that the
that was
awesome video?
a beautiful campaign.
You see all the famous actors in there. And also Nandita Das. She's one of my favorite directors and artists of her time. She went on a lot of interviews and talked a lot about this like obsession with fairness. And there's a lot of movement around that. It's slowly evolving. I think, a great actor who comes to mind is Radhika Apte. She is definitely darker skinned. If you look at the progression of all the movies she's done, like I'm almost surprised that she herself has not opted, or the directors or whoever have not opted to make her look more lighter skin, right?
Totally. And, but isn't Radhika Apte only on OTT content as well?
Yeah, as soon as I said that, she has done a few mainstream movies, but she predominantly does that. Now, does she do that because those are just better written roles or otherwise? I don't know, but all I can say is she's one of the only people I know who has consistently looked like herself, like her skin, but also she looks beautiful and comfortable, and that kind of confidence almost radiates. But at the same time, I still don't see a lot of this activism or conversations happening by a lot of fair-skinned people, right? Like it's one of those privileges that people who have it kind of feel like, oh yeah, it's not something I'm experiencing, therefore it's not happening.
You're right. I 100% agree with you. We really should show that India's Got Color video in all the movies before they're screened.
Yeah.
Maybe there needs to be some more effort around, when we learn about our history, about the Mughal emperor and the British rule and all of this, there needs to be a section dedicated to just learning about how this has messed up our own self esteem and thinking about our own skin color. Like, I think that would be a good way to tackle this too. And I don't think this would happen, but it would be great if the government could just ban skin lightening solutions in our
Yes.
country.
Absolutely. Or they should at least come with the warning like they have on tobacco packets, like this is just as bad before you use it, or like use it at your own risk. I do think that in terms of activism, it's like we can talk about all these problems as it exists somewhere else in the society, but I think one thing we should all realize is just be aware of how it shows up in our everyday lives, right? It's like as a parent or as a friend, like the more you are self-critical about yourself, the more whether or not you make that comment about somebody else, it's pretty obvious as to what your standard is. So I guess it's like a long-winded way of saying self-acceptance needs to be at the core of all this, in addition to activism and awareness.
Yeah. Like when I think about you and myself, I don't think we went through like an explicit process of unlearning around this. I think this was just more of a side effect of just practicing self love.
Self-acceptance is an ongoing process, right? The more I accept myself, the more confident I am in how I look, how I feel, the less critical I am about myself. I think I start to develop like the safe space where other women around us hopefully can also feel comfortable in their own skin.
I wholeheartedly agree. With that, that brings us to the end of this episode. As always, Shruti, thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much to all the listeners who tuned in today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation, and make sure to share this with somebody who needs to hear it. We will see you next time. Until then, goodbye.
Yeah, it is. Definitely it is. Basically, the steroid creams, yeah. Sorry,
Okay, no, it's okay. Do you think because of the rebranding to, sorry, one second, like how they just generally, like people's viewpoint on fair skin?
Okay.
Okay, your video, what is happening? It's like going in and out.
It said recording stop.
Oh, that's
But now it says recording.